Cool.
Hello and welcome to the DrivingMaul show for the second time tonight because, yes, we have had technical issues and that's why we're going live about 13 minutes late. Sorry, folks. One of the pieces of kit that holds everything together just died on me. And hence I had no internet connection and everything was going slowly. And so hence we are back now. Hopefully you are back and joining us as well. Thank you, everybody, for being patient. Or thank you, Con. And sorry to Stephen Harris, who's not back yet. Yes, hopefully he's not too upset. Right then. Don't forget, you can join us at 8 p.m. every single Tuesday. Well, normally 8 p.m. anyway, to talk rugby for an hour. Con, how are you doing? Keeping nice and safe?
Yeah, not too bad, Paul. Thank you very much. That's your second beer of the last 3 hours, because I assume you had one at 5 p.m. as well.
I did.
Or maybe third.
I might be taking a quick trip to the fridge to get another one after the way that things are going this evening.
No, doing well, thank you. And yourself?
Oh, yes, not so bad. And I've got my mouse is going all over the place now because I've suddenly connected another monitor to my computer that I didn't realize was connected. All fun and games. Thank you, Stephen. Sorry for cutting you off. I'm having one of those days, put bluntly. So if anybody has got a spare Dell D6000 docking station they would like to donate to the channel, that'd be much appreciated and would save me about $360 because that's what's just gone and died on me, which is why we weren't going live on time. Yes, I'll be shopping tomorrow. On the list for today, we'll have a chat about Moana Pasifika squad because Stephen has been doing a whole bunch of research for us and using all of his network of spies that we have around the country, checking in on all sorts of places to try and figure out who the Moana Pasifika squad is. We'll talk about some residency stuff because Folau Fakatava could not be available for the All Blacks. We had a question yesterday about Heartland Championship promotion and relegation, so we'll have a quick chat about that, as well as USA and Ireland has been cancelled. Also, I went through it earlier today around all the NPC schedule and promotion and relegation. So if you want to know the details of that, then jump on over, go back and watch that show. But I'm sure that Stephen and Con will have some opinions about that. And so, pardon me, we'll talk about that during the show as well. So, folks, a packed show that's already running 15 minutes late. So, hope you boys are both free until midnight because we could be going for a while.
Maybe not.
Oh, dearie me.
Not to midnight.
Not to midnight. Oh, okay then. Well, look, let me just quickly bring up the... so Stephen has been doing a whole bunch of research, as I say, looking at the Moana Pasifika squad. Obviously, the Sydney Morning Herald came out with something, didn't they, Stephen, around Cristiano Lealiifano joining. What do you think of that signing? Because fly half wasn't an area that we thought they were short of in particular.
Yeah, listen, one thing's for sure, you've got to have a bit of experience, and he's a very, very experienced head. I suppose the only thing that might be a little bit of a concern, he was out of the game for a while, if I recall, with maybe an HIA, if I recall, so a serious injury of sorts. So it took him a while. He was
out with cancer.
No, beg your pardon. Yeah, cancer. So yeah, that's even on a far greater scale, shall I say? So, but listen,
he did have a pretty excellent comeback after that, though, didn't he? I think he took the Brumbies to the semis or something. On the back of some pretty impressive play.
Yeah.
Sorry, Stephen. Continue.
No worries. Thanks. I was drowning there for a moment. It's great that they've got somebody of Cristiano Lealiifano's ability, and let's not forget he's very good off the tee as well.
Yes, which is exactly what Nocturnal Rights is saying in the live chat there. Yeah, he's a good kicker as well. So I guess one of the downsides is that he is a Wallaby international, and therefore he's not available for Samoa and Thomas. So he's one of their marquee players from that point of view. For those of you who missed it, Stephen and I about 2 weeks ago went through and put together the entire our entire squad for Moana Pasifika. who we thought they would and wouldn't sign. And in a second, we'll bring up some names and show you how accurate we've been so far with what the rumours are telling us. So if you want to check that out, that's in the show notes down below. But Con, obviously Lealiifano came back and played well. You just sold us, so I guess you're happy he gets a good signing for them.
I do think it is a good signing. He's obviously he'd be early to mid 30s, so he's in the sunset of his career. But that's what's gonna those players are going to be important for these two new teams, particularly the Moana Pasifika. Correct for the less knowledgeable listener and myself. What's the ruling on the number of marquee players, New Zealand, Australian players, etc.? Is it 25%? Is it 20%? Something like that, isn't it?
So they said 80% was going to be would be eligible, but I think that might be a sort of a long term. I don't think it's a strict rule per se. So from memory, I think it was eight marquee players potentially.
It had an unusual rule though, didn't it? It was something about the eligibility for. I thought they've got to have declared for. They've got to be declared for Samoa, Tonga, or the Cook Islands. Okay, gotcha. But New Zealand Rugby then also came out and had their own sort of rules saying that we'd allow X number of All Blacks to be part of it as well, if they wanted them, kind of thing. So one of the rumours that's been going around is that Ardie Savea may move to play for them, for example. But he is not one of the ones that's doing the rounds at the moment. I think that one could have been a bit of what do you call it? Agents talk to try and get the Hurricanes to pay a little bit more. TJ Perenara and the Roosters.
Well, yes, exactly. Just like TJ Perenara and the Roosters. I think that one actually had some legs, but one of the problems was that he couldn't get insurance. So if he got himself injured and was taken out of and couldn't play again, he was going to get his insurance payout was going to be a lot smaller than if he stayed as an All Black. And I think that's one of the reasons he didn't go in the end. Yeah. So let's have a look at these names that Stephen has whipped up for us. And I've listed them by position, as you can see. The ones that are in green are the players that Stephen and I picked as part of our squad. The ones that are in red are the ones that we didn't pick. If the name is in bold, then that means that player is not eligible to play for Samoa, Tonga, or the Cook Islands. So is therefore a marquee player. And Lincoln McClutchy, you'll see there is in italics. That's because I don't know what his eligibility is around it. But running through the players, then at hooker we've got Ray Nuia. There with Sikopi Kefu and Jordan Lay, two decent props there. So one at Counties, one at Auckland, and Jordan Lay also had some time with the Blues as kind of injury cover. Sione Tuipulotu at lock there, and then Mike McKee. One of the reasons we didn't spot Mike McKee, to be honest with you, is that he's playing Counties club rugby. He was supposed to be down in Southland, but got injured, and so isn't playing NPC, and that's why he fell under our radar, and that's why we missed Mike McKee. In the loose forwards, Henry Stowers, Solomon Funakai, Alamanda Motuga, Jack Lamb. We got all those. Inari, we thought. I thought he was going to be. He was contracted with the Crusaders, wasn't he? So I think that's why we didn't pick him. Lealiifano, as we say, was a marquee player, so a bit of surprise there. Lincoln McClutchy, again, not someone we thought was necessarily eligible. Maybe he's a marquee player. And then again, Lolagi, Vizinai, again, another player, a marquee player. We were expecting to not know the marquee players and get those. So not a bad hit rate for the eligible players, Stephen.
Mate, I think we pretty much did well with our little exercise, shall we say? Yeah, just just with Lincoln McClutchy, listen, I think he's one of those players that they've looked at, and like most of us, we've asked the question over the last couple of seasons, wow, how's this guy keep missing out on a contract? I mean, to say currently at the moment, he's keeping Tian Falcon, who has been a contracted player, I think, to the Chiefs in the past, out of the actual playing 15, or Hawke's Bay playing 15 at the moment. And he's an exciting player as well. And man, if he's surplus to requirements, boy, you'd basically pick him, because he does bring you a little bit of excitement. But I just like the way they're structuring their squad at this time. And you know what? There's a few of these guys, if you look through, they're actually in form at the moment. You know, we've seen Stowers playing some great rugby in the NPC this year. Solomon Funaki, when he's come on as a replacement for the Magpies, has looked really, really good. And of course, we mentioned Lincoln McClutchy, Eddie Anari before, and you know, Lolangi Visania is just playing some of the best rugby I've ever seen him play. So that's got to be a good thing.
Yeah, good player. And in time, Falcon obviously was with the Chiefs, has been playing at Toyota Verblitz over in Japan as well. So look, a quality player is Time Falcon. And as you say, to keep him out of the side. Now, quite often when there are players like that that you think are really, really good but don't get selected, it's generally question marks around character or around training or something like that. But we've not heard any of those things, particularly from about Lincoln McClutchy, and he's at a province that we do have some contacts with. So yeah, it's a real head scratcher as to why he hasn't had a Super Rugby contract before. I'll be honest. Your thoughts, Con, your thoughts on some of these players here?
Yeah, there's a couple that I haven't seen for a wee while, but obviously Kifu, he's been he was obviously in the TARS a couple of years ago, but where's he been? Has he been in the UK? Or has he been in Japan for the last couple of years? He was a great player, obviously. Henry Stowers, also Lealiifano, as I said before, is great. Anari's probably the not the pick of the bunch, but it's great to see him in there, young player. So it's going to be look. I don't know about what the majority of listeners are, but this is the team I'm probably the most fascinated with, just in how it's going to come together come February. Just there's a bit of like I guess it's the freshness of it. Very excited to see obviously the Crusaders, my beloved Crusaders team, but this is a team that it'll be we just don't know anything about them. The team that took that played against the New Zealand Mariners is going to be very different to this team, obviously, in anything but name. So it's going to be a bit of a they might struggle in their first couple of seasons, but it's going to be fascinating to see how they come together.
Yes, it's Kempi Kev, who's been over in England playing for London Irish, but in 2 seasons there he only played 13 games. So
is he playing? Is he playing now? Is he in the current season or?
Oh, he's playing at counties at the moment.
Okay, of course.
So, well, okay. Rephrase that. He's at counties, but he's not allowed to play.
He's training at counties.
Yeah, he started in the first 2 rounds.
Gotcha. I missed him.
But yeah, as you say, there are a bunch of players you kind of like. Oh, I haven't seen him much because, well, they're stuck in quarantine. They're not stuck in quarantine. Sorry, they're stuck in lockdown in the Auckland area. So hence they've not been able to. We've not seen them play because they've been locked away while the rest of the provinces have been able to play. Unfortunately, Nocturnal White says, "What about Dwayne, your sometimes guest? Where is he at the moment?" Look, Dwayne well, I've not had this officially from him, but look, I think he's basically moved on from has basically retired from professional rugby and has got himself a good business development role in the food packaging industry. I think is what he's working in now. So yes, that's why we didn't have Dwayne down as someone who was playing. Look, yes, he played for I've gone blank, Samoa during the during the July window. But you'll know, if you remember, he played for the first game and then didn't play for the other games. So essentially, I think he was the person who was in the country who was filling a gap while a player was quarantining, and so he was helping them out from that point of view. Is what I think was happening. I say I've not heard this officially from him, but that's
how it looks from the outside. So that's why I think Dwayne won't be part of this. The reviewer says, do you think we'll receive the schedule for Super Rugby Pacific by the end of October? I know there's a schedule going around. I've not seen it, but I know it exists, which shouldn't surprise anybody, right? I've seen some media articles out of Australia that with some of the provinces, some of the teams sort of complain that they can't organise flights and hotels and stuff yet because there's no schedule. And normally by now they would be doing those sort of logistics. So, but obviously COVID is a big problem. So so they've got to figure out how they structure the beginning of the season in particular, where travel may be a problem.
Well, I had a quick Google showed that in 2018 in June, this is according to Google and rugby.com.au, the 2019 Super Rugby draw was announced. So that's an incredible lead time for that. I'm a bit worried they've got the dates around the wrong way, and it's actually the December. But because that seems like the season wouldn't have even ended. But as you said, it's different times, new teams as well. So it can't be too far away. You'd imagine that it'll be coming up November at the latest.
But you've also got to think that is from a marketing point of view, from New Zealand Rugby, we now know that the Bunnings NPC will be finishing around the 20th of November. So you've also got the All Blacks playing through November. You've got the Black Ferns also on tour, playing England and France in November. You've got a lot of kind of marketing and media that you want to be doing in November. So the question then is, do you want to also be marketing and trying to sell Super Rugby Pacific at the same time, or do you hold off until early December before releasing it officially, and then use that as part of the razzmatazz to get people excited for it? Because let's be honest, one of the things about Super Rugby that's different to European rugby is we don't have many away fans. People don't generally travel away to games. So you don't have to worry too much about people wanting to book flights or book hotels. I think that might change when you've got games in Fiji and Samoa and Tonga, where you could take a holiday or take a long weekend, head over to Fiji, have some beach time, and catch a Super Rugby game. That sounds cracking to me. But at the moment, you don't have to worry about that sort of thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if they wait until December, purely from a marketing point of view.
I would have thought that they'd want to, disguise a business, and they want to be giving people that, hey, don't worry, don't cancel your subscription over Christmas if you don't like cricket. This is coming just around the corner. It's one of the reasons why I keep on getting earlier and earlier, I think. So I'd imagine they might want a few advertisements during those last test matches. But
okay, yep.
Yeah.
Well, we have a start date, don't we?
What is the start date? It's the second week of Feb, is it, or first week of Feb?
I'll be honest, I can't remember.
From just from what I've been able to glean, what I understand is they are going to be dropping a few names via the media, similar to what the Drew have been doing, and that's going to basically start over the next few days. So we'll start to see a few names actually roll out, because there's a lot of interest surrounding this team. And really, do we want to wait till Christmas? Everybody would have just switched off the Christmas buzz by then, as far as I'm concerned. I know that they are still interviewing in some positions. I know of an NPC, current NPC coach, who's applying for a role as their defensive coach at the minute. Won't say too much on that, but I also know there's still a few names being bandied around that I haven't fully concerned. Guys like Nedi Formai, the Hawke's Bay outside back, who can play in the midfield. That's crazy. That'll make about 5 or 6 Hawke's Bay players from one union. I suspect Counties Manukau might be another big contributor as well. But the other little bit of news that's floating around, they may have picked up the sensational Tamosi Tavatavanawai, who we saw running around for the Tasman Mako on the weekend. And should they pick him up, boy, he'll be box office. He'll be a draw card.
He will, but it doesn't make sense to me, that one, because he's, as far as I can tell, he's Fijian. So unless he's eligible, is dual eligibility, then he'll be a fantastic player. It's not about skills here that I'm questioning it. I just think it's been a strange one for them to do. If I just quickly, if we have a quick look at the counties team, we obviously got Kepu in there, who's Australian, but I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 island qualified players between Fiji, Samoa, and Tonga in there. So, yeah, as you say, a third of the counties Manukau squad would be eligible, you'd think. So, yeah, I'm expecting them to be quite a big contributor to that one. Oh, brilliant! We've got a name for him now. We've got a nickname, Pocket Hercules. What a great name for as a nickname for him on the wing, because yeah, he's been absolutely fantastic out there. Before we move on to some other stuff, yes, Aaron brings up a good point that I saw it on the legendary Marty Banks Facebook page, but yeah, Liam Squire has unfortunately had to retire from all rugby due to his knee. Doctors have just said, look, it's just not going to recover enough for you to play, and you're just risking your long-term health. So a sad day to see a player have such a promising player who could have racked up a lot of international caps, have his career cut short. It's never fun to see a player go out that way. But any favourite memories or any thoughts about Liam Squire, boys?
One thing, I think it would have been great if he was able to play in the last World Cup. Not just for him, but I think we could have used a bit of a thug against England, a bit of mongrel. We were missing that. Although he might not have got picked, could have used it.
Yeah, for me, probably one of those players that, from a ceiling point of view, really, really excelled at the super level. I see a lot of similarities between himself and Frizzell, but just really, really standing out at that extra level. I can remember one test in Ireland, a test that he played in Ireland, and I thought he was very, very good in that test. And you did right, Con. He's a different sort of number 8. He does bring that real physical style, but it was also probably one of those positions that, since the departure of Jerome Kaino, that we never really have found a number 6 for that position. We thought we'd found one in Akira Ioane, but all of a sudden the jury's gone back out again to confer on that one.
What he did do, though, is he was proudly rocking the mullet well before it became fashionable amongst the All Blacks.
Yeah.
Must have been rocking that in 2013.
Yeah.
Now it's everywhere.
Look, when there's 1 or 2, it kind of has a little bit of character and it, but when they're all doing it, you're like, geez, boys, it's not a good look.
Yeah, it's just continuing, isn't it? It's
yep.
Every season they come back with just slightly different variations.
And yes, so and I'll be getting a haircut tomorrow, so yes, I'll be definitely getting the backs done.
I think you look good on you, Paul.
Nice and tidy.
Yep.
Sorry?
Two on the sides and the front, and leave the back. I think it'd look quite good.
Leave the back,
especially under the hat.
Absolutely not. Deary me. Where are we going to go next? Residency then. I'm not sure. Did I talk about it with you two on the lockdown beers about Flower Fakatava? So, folks, I did with Stephen. I'm not sure. Con, did we talk about it with you as well?
Touched on it.
Oh, we did. Okay, so we'll just make it very brief then, because we have talked about it before. But Flower Fakatava,
looks like it's going to fall foul of this new law, of not this new law, of the change in law around eligibility. About 6 years ago now, which is a scarily long time, World Rugby changed the residency rules from being 3 years to 5 years. Now they did it 6 years ago because then that gave a 5-year notice so that they weren't moving the goalposts on any players that had just moved, which makes kind of sense. COVID then came along, and this provided a nice little excuse for the various Tier 1 nations to ask World Rugby to delay it by 12 months, I think, and they moved it by 12 months on so-called compassionate grounds, at which point a couple of players slipped through the net and became internationals over in Europe. And then it comes into effect at the end of this year. Now, so if a player has had 3 years residency up to this, they can play this year, but next year they'll be up to 4 years residency, and they'll need 5, so they won't be able to play next year. Residency years basically starts if you're studying. That's not considered to be permanent somewhere, and so therefore it's considered short trips, not a permanent move. So hence, if you go to school somewhere, it's not until you're 18, unless your parents also live in that country. So for Fakatava, yes, he went to school here, but that didn't count towards his residency. It kicks in when you're 18, and hence he's 21, and that's why he became available this year for the All Blacks. Look, it's as not to say. Look, it's to me. It sounds like that New Zealand Rugby, the New Zealand Rugby Players Association, and the All Blacks are going to make an attempt to ask for World Rugby on compassionate grounds to give him an exemption. Let's be honest, he would be playing now for the All Blacks, except he's injured. So from that point of view, I can get it. But in all honesty, I think it's a good rule, moving it to 5 years, and I've got no objections with it at all. And some similar things to what you guys said last time. So we should probably
nations.
Kind of move on from that one.
Just on eligibility, Paul.
Sorry. Yep.
So just on eligibility and the Moana Pasifika thing, combining two topics. So so what could happen is someone could be eligible for Samoa and Tonga to be picked in that team, and then essentially get called up into the All Blacks because they'll have dual eligibility late in the season, and then their contract could be kind of a bit ruined with Moana Pasifika if they're on a 3 or 4 year contract. Is that true? If I understand the situation right?
So I think this is one of the interesting things that they've said, that we've heard from Moana Pasifika. I think also from the Fijian Drua. They're not picking players who are eligible; they're picking players who have declared.
Okay.
Right. So. So unless you actually say, so part of signing for Moana Pasifika is not just being eligible, but also saying, yes, I want to play for them. Now, can someone change their, yes, I want to play for Samoa all the time. Can someone change their mind? Absolutely, yes. I mean, people are entitled to change their mind, so there will be one or two, but...
Gotcha, that's a key. That is a key thing, it seems. Because I think I was just reading the rules, and it does look like it probably the pitch that they made to World Rugby to get the funding and everything like that was based on the fact that they needed to be 80% eligible for Samoa Tonga. So interesting. No, sorry to derail that one. I was just curious to see what could happen to contracts, because if you're only allowed 6 players, you've got lots of people on 3-year contract. Halfway through the contract, people get named. They're then ineligible. Well, they're still in contract. It could be a tricky one. I guess there'll be a clause that get you out of that contract, but yeah.
Obviously they'll need some sort of clause in there. And looks like Foster should pick him injured anyway, just not play him. Well, and that doesn't help. Unless you're actually capped, you are not forced into. You're not tied to that team. So there have been cases where a player has gone into camp with England or Scotland, and then, hasn't got selected for the side, and the following year could be playing for the opposition, for the other side. So there are some players who own multiple sets of kit from different countries because, yes, they went into a training camp, but that doesn't mean they actually ever played for them, and they can still change and play for somebody else.
Come on the 81st minute against Italy, potentially.
On his crutches.
Stay out of the way.
Well, yeah, yes, that would be could have used him in the Tonga test and have him hobble on for the last 30 seconds.
Beat me to it, nocturnal rights.
Yeah. That's absolutely. Before we get on to the NPC, I think that's what you guys would like to have a quick chat about. Well, just very briefly, USA versus Ireland that was supposed to be in Vegas has been cancelled. Now they've blamed COVID on this one, and to be fair, I don't know what the quarantining rules are for Ireland, but New Zealand seem perfectly happy to go across and play the USA in the States. That game, as far as I'm aware, is still on, and then go play in the United Kingdom against Wales the following weekend. Look, I think there's this. I think, as has been suggested on the Black, White, and Red Eye, the Americans Rugby podcast, they've suggested that, look, it probably came down to ticket sales, that was cancelled, more of a financial thing, and used COVID as an excuse. There, got to remember that USA Rugby went bankrupt and was bailed out by World Rugby. So it's not like USA Rugby's got lots of cash to throw around.
When was that, Paul?
Be 4 years ago now. Essentially, they were bailed out because they had the San Francisco the Sevens Rugby World Cup, which is trying to think when it is now. But anyway, so that would have been so about 4 years ago. On that, and hence Augustin Pichot was put on the American Rugby board to make sure they did pay back. Obviously, he's no longer part of World Rugby, so I don't know if they've got someone else there instead. So then, boys, no promotion and relegation in the NPC. Do you? We sort of kind of discussed yesterday on the lockdown beers what we thought we might do, but do you agree with that, or do you? Or are you like Neil Barnes, who thinks it's ridiculous, the Taranaki head coach, that there's no promotion?
Oh, listen, I think these are extraordinary times. And you're going to make a decision that people are not going to be happy with. I'm really unsure. I've got no real thought about it either way. If you relegated a team that couldn't play, that would be unfair. And if you're not going to promote a team that's gone through the season and gone through the season looking like the best championship team in the division, well, that's another problem in itself, isn't it? So I'm not sure.
No, I agree. I think, as we said the other day, in my mind, the only real possibility here, except for cancellation of the promotion relegation, was potentially promoting Taranaki, but not relegating a team. I think if Bay of Plenty or Canterbury had lost all of their games, it might have looked like they might have deserved relegation, and maybe the decision would have been different. But you can't sort of announce it at this. Well, I don't think so at this time. That actually the team that's in fifth or whatever is now going to be relegated, even though they're actually doing decent. I think it's a bit tough. Obviously, I don't think any sane person would have expected Auckland or the teams that have only played would have potentially at best only played sort of 20% of the games to be relegated. But I think telling someone late-ish in the season that they potentially out for relegation might have been a bit tough. So I think it is the best thing that they could have done. I do feel bad for Taranaki, though. It is fair and disappointing for them. What's this you got up here, Paul?
So I've just brought up the Premiership table for the NPC. On the left-hand side, you've got the current table with number of games played and points. They've said that the games that involve Harbour, Auckland and counties that have not been played will end up with both teams getting 2 points. So pretty much my idea of basically being a nil or draw. And so the middle columns there show you the situation after I've included all of those games. You can see what the games are on the right hand side there. So for example, Hawke's Bay was scheduled to play Harbour and Auckland, and therefore they'll pick up 2 games from those 4 points from those 2 games. And that sees them still top of the table. The table doesn't change that much. There's a couple of changes, but I think one of the big things here is Wellington have only got 2 more competitive games. Same with Tasman, whereas Waikato and Canterbury have both got four more competitive games in the last 4 weeks. And this is why you'll see that they've included non-competitive games now for the rest of the season, so that teams will only miss 1 weekend and not 2 weekends on the bounce. Yep.
I was about to say, Paul, just out of interest, and I didn't read the full Neil Barnes article. What was his solution?
Oh, he was suggesting well, you're just playing the season for nothing, but you're still going to be the champions of it. I've not actually seen. I've not gone through the whole thing, but basically, he's saying that the big unions have been, or big provinces, have been listened to, and Taranaki, being a little province, has ended up getting the short end of the stick. But yeah, I don't know the fully interesting one there, the full reasoning, what he would suggest. To be honest,
at the end of the day, they'll still be lifting the championship trophy. They just won't be promoted. And I think anybody should understand these unusual circumstances. When you kind of think what a lot of people have basically sacrificed this year. I've heard so many stories about people who had plans to have a wedding in Rarotonga or wherever, but they've just had to shelve those plans because of COVID. For crying out loud, even people turning up to funerals basically can't go full noise. So it's just the way it is. It's just what it is. It may seem totally unfair, but I think sometimes you just got to look at the bigger holistic picture.
Well, I will probably get an interview with him on Saturday when Waikato take on Taranaki after the game. So we'll see what mood he's in.
Tell him what Stephen said too. Don't say
you do that.
Neil, your complaining is nothing. You should. You've not missed out on the wedding in Rarotonga.
Yeah.
Well, you probably are if you're the one that's paying for it. If you're the one that's paying for it.
And here's the championship table. I mean, Taranaki still stay top there, followed by Manawatu. Still 4 points difference. No big difference. The interesting one here is that this puts North Harbour in 3rd and Counties Manukau in 4th. And there is a real possibility that Otago and Northland won't catch them. Southland, they already can't catch North Harbour with only 2 games left. So they will their maximum point is 18. So there's a real chance that either North Harbour or Counties will finish in the top 4. So we'll have to wait and see whether the New Zealand Rugby decide to basically include 5th place in those playoffs, or if they do the same thing as they did with the Whanapapa Cup, which was say that the top of the table went straight through to the final, and then the 2nd and 3rd or 2nd and 4th played off for the in what they call a preliminary final, essentially a semi-final, to play in that final. So we'll wait and see what happens with that one. But yes, there is a real possibility here that North Harbour will finish in the top 4, as they are 9 points clear of Otago currently and 10 points clear of Northland, who have no more home games this season. Well, they do, but their only home game left this season is going to be played in Rotorua on Friday night, which means that I will get to see Northland more times than Stephen will this season, which is not
Not something that, something you would have got very long odds on prior to the season, let's be honest, on that one, eh, Steve?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Obviously, who saw this coming? But, I was just kind of thinking about it as you were just talking. Man, I'm just still wrapped. We've got some rugby, some local rugby that we're watching at the moment. Yeah, really unfortunate for the three unions from the 09, and you feel extremely sorry for them. But, man, I'm just wrapped. We've got some rugby, and we'll at least see a competition see itself through. But more importantly, there are Super Rugby teams to be picked, so there's opportunities for those players that are still running around.
Now, there is one thing that I might be able to get you to be a bit upset about. I'll just bring up the I'll just share my screen and bring up the fixtures, because there is another trophy that we need to sort out before the end of the season, and that is the Ranfurly Shield. I don't know quite if you can read that, folks, but this coming weekend, Hawke's Bay will be away in Canterbury, so clearly the Shield will not be on the line for that game. The following weekend, Hawke's Bay will play Waikato on Saturday the 23rd, so that's a Ranfurly Shield game. Now, if Hawke's Bay hold on to the Shield in that one, they'll be away in Manawatu, and then they'll be hosting Northland in the final round in a non-competitive game, and therefore it's not a Ranfurly Shield challenge. Stephen, your Tanifar are going so close and yet so far from a Ranfurly Shield challenge game. Do you think that's fair that they should be allowed to not call that a Ranfurly Shield game?
Oh, listen, it is what it is. That game is either going to be, it's probably going to be a bit of a dead rubber anyway for both teams, because Northland won't be getting any points out of it, or they'll and if they are if they are fortunate enough to get to a semi-final, you'll probably find
he'll leave. See, he's
yes,
so upset.
That's unfortunate.
He just jumped off.
Yeah. Just to fill in I can't speak for him, but I personally actually think it's quite disappointing. I think the purpose, not the purpose of the Ranfurly Shield. The Ranfurly Shield is something quite special in that obviously it's got so much history and legacy, but it makes games that may not really matter into games that matter. You sometimes get game, obviously two teams from different conferences challenging for the Ranfurly Shield. Sometimes there's Shield challenges. I don't know how often they are with. I recall, so you could tell me otherwise, but Heartland potentially, playing for the Shield and that kind of thing. And so this should be a game that could mean something and generate a bit of a crowd and a bit of interest where there might not be any. And so I guess I kind of see it as I understand why they do it, but a little bit of a missed opportunity. Steve, you get to finish your sentence.
Yes, yeah. No, I was going to say, to be brutally honest, I think regardless, this will be you might find it might be a bit of a meaningless game if both teams are still alive in terms of semi-final playoffs, because obviously Northland can't get any points for it, nor can Hawke's Bay, so I can see both teams maybe resting a lot of players and playing their squads in this game. Should it be Northland's last game, I think they might put their strongest side out and just go out and just try and finish the season on a high. So yeah, I know when I got semi-excited when I actually saw that, and then realised there was actually nothing on the game. Listen, I'd be more pleased if they could make the semi-finals, given the way their season started.
To me, I think it should be a Ranfurly Shield game. As Con said, look, it means that a game that means nothing does mean something. So from that point of view, Con's also asked about Heartland Championship teams getting Ranfurly Shield challenges. So something that's become, it's only been over the last 4 or 5 years, I think now, that it's been sort of codified. But essentially, if you win the Meads Cup or the Lahore Trophy, then essentially you get a Ranfurly Shield challenge the following season as a pre-season warm-up is kind of how it works. So that's how it's it's not again. I think it's become. I'm not sure if that's. I don't think it's actually explicitly in the laws that they have to, or the rules, but that's effectively become the reward for a reward for getting those trophies, is that you get a Ranfurly Shield shot as well. Not that any team has got anywhere close. Actually, that's not fair. I think was it North Canterbury or something like that got relatively close against Otago a couple of seasons ago, or at least at half time they were close.
Probably South Canterbury or Mid Canterbury.
Yeah, I thought it might be Thames.
It might have been Thames Valley.
Might have been Thames Valley against Otago, but that was very early in the season. And
they're always pre-season games.
Yeah, they're pre-season games. And Otago, if I recall, were fielding a pretty under-strength side that didn't have any super players. In fact, they probably only had a handful of NPC players. So, and I think at halftime they might have either been down or at halftime, or there wasn't much in it. But it was a great effort from the Swamp Foxes. Yeah,
look, I mean that's the thing, is that the super players haven't been released to that point, or if they are, they're having their 2-week rest between tournaments. So hence they don't get to play in those ones. So yes, it's not the strongest team that the NPC team, the NPC Ranfurly Shield holder can put out against these Heartland Championship teams. But I remember going to Taranaki versus Poverty Bay down the Naki for a pre-season Ranfurly Shield challenge, and Poverty Bay were nowhere near. Kinina Holo scored a lot of points that day before limping off and putting on a moon boot, and that was the end of his season. Unfortunately. And that probably explains why we don't have Heartland promotion and relegation into the NPC, which is a question that the reviewer asked us yesterday on the Lockdown Beers and Rugby Chat. Basically, look, your Super Rugby teams are obviously full-time professionals. Your NPC teams are semi-pro, and then your Heartland Championship teams are amateur. New Zealand, the market can only sustain so many professional teams, and arguably, New Zealand Rugby would tell you that there are too many provincial sides in the NPC already, with 14. And they've tried to cut it. They've tried to cut it to a smaller number previously. So the kind of level of funding that a Heartland Championship team would need to come up is just not there. And so hence, that's why we don't have promotion relegation from the Heartland Championship.
I was about to say, Paul, let's just go and try and find $1 million from somewhere, because that's probably what you're going to that's probably what you're going to need, and that's boy. And where do you go and get your marquee players? Who's going to want to go to a Heartland Union? I know it's a real tough gig. I can recall, back in the 90s, where they had a playoff for promotion relegation team games, and the team that basically was the last place team in the first division back there would play the top of the team second division, and you'd go to their place and play the game. But you'd find that the team that had been up in the division, even though they had a rough whole season, would still end up winning by 40 points.
Yep. I guess the idea behind it is you get sort of a UK the football leagues, where someone can come along, and some philanthropist can come along and go, right, Kings can, or anyone, Buller, I'm going to pump $1 million into this team. Let's get some players, and over the next 4 years, we're going to make our way to the top, or 8 years. It's a bit of a novelty, but it probably doesn't do a lot, because the size of the, I mean, as someone said yesterday, or maybe even was today, the size of the parks, the fact that we've got cities, places people want to be and want to go and watch rugby, it kind of works. And New Zealand doesn't have that many more. Do we have any more cities that aren't represented by NPC teams?
Well, in Wanganui is probably the only one.
Listen, the teams that, if I think it's sides that were part of the first division back in the day, and I'm talking about King Country, Wairarapa Bush, South Canterbury, actually, but unbelievably spent a bit of time in the first division. I think those are maybe the only three that I can actually think of. Probably maybe Marlborough, but then again, they've amalgamated, and that was the right thing to do. But once there was no chance of promotion, those teams unfortunately just lost all the best of their players. They still produce the odd good player here and there who ends up maybe crossing the border to play for a first division province, but in the main, it's just once you're down there, it's a different world.
Yeah, I mean, for example, Kurt Eklund is a Waihi boy, but he obviously plays for Bay of Plenty and for the Blues. He's the Waihi's the club that I help out as doing videos and stuff where I live. You say that the Thames Valley. So that's officially a Thames Valley team. So he's a Thames Valley boy, he doesn't play for the Swamp Foxes because he's a professional rugby player. It is what it is. Cool. So the non-competitive games, I think, are good. The players need to run out. It's going to be interesting to see how the different teams deal with that. And which player, and do they rest players and use their extended squad? Do they put out their first team again? So if you're thinking of doing your TAB bets, folks, for the non-competitive games especially, wait until you see the squads announced, because until then you haven't got a clue. Really, it'd be a lot of guesswork, I think, on those ones. A bit of caution there, folks. So Tasman versus Bay of Plenty this Sunday is the first one there. Look, we're past 9 o'clock, even if we haven't reached the hour mark yet, because of various technical issues. Folks, as you probably, if you listen to the beginning of the show, you'll have heard that I'll be needing to go shopping for about $350 towards a new docking station. So if you'd like to try and help fund us so that we can have the tech to bring you all the shows and not have the problems we had this at the beginning of the show, then head over to patreon.com/NZ Sport Radio, please, and become a supporter of the channel. Con is the latest person who's signed up, so thank you, Con. Look, it's only a couple of bucks or even as little as $1 a month, but it all adds up, folks, and it does pay for all the tech that we use. Stephen Harris and I should both be getting new cameras soon, so hopefully we'll end up with give Stephen a bit of a better picture rather than that funny sort of horror movie log cabin look he's going for at the moment, with that wood in the background.
Whatever I've got going on in my background. It's not where I sleep, guys. It's the spare room.
So yes, the fact that he's got a camera set up pointing at the TV at the bed shows you how he makes his extra money on the side.
If I had
thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a cracking week. I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. with the Lockdown Beers, and we'll have the standoff show with their end of season awards show tomorrow at 8 p.m.